Thank you very much. I want to thank the EETT for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here and represent Skype. You know how at some stage of the conference you feel like everything has already been said. So I want to take upon that challenge and hopefully have something to say to you haven't heard about Skype yet. I will be introducing you to Skype's products and strategies, some of our business models, our partnerships, our role in the internet ecosystem and some of the challenges we face there, as well as the wrapping it up to messages to regulators in some of the key areas for Skype. So what is Skype? We've been talking a lot about the American companies. Skype is European founded. It was set up by a Swede and a Dane. The R&D is based in Estonia, and it's operating from Luxembourg. And we essentially have one piece of product, which is a piece of software. It's a peer-to-peer software, internet communication software that's available over the top for anybody with an access to public internet. And it's available for download at skype.com. Skype's was a pure internet model in that first we concentrated in building a big user base with these free apps among internet users globally and worry about the revenue after. And you could say we were successful in that today we have 250 million users that use Skype at least once a month, and we've broken a record of over 40 million concurrent online users at any given time. On top of those free features, among which, by the way, the most known obviously are the Skype-to-Skype voice and video calling, where video represents 50% of all calls today. On top of those, we then brought on some value-added features that users were willing to pay for, always for a small charge. The most known of which would be the PSTN calling from the Skype client. And then on top of that, we built some advertising models to leverage our user base. Far from being a threat to the other players, Skype has been stimulating demand for broadband access, and we've been able, with the popularity of our products, to create win-win partnerships with companies that have built, marketed, and sold hardware, ancillary, and underlying services in connection with Skype's offerings. So let's talk a little bit about those partnerships and the revenue streams that Skype generates together and standalone. The most significant group of partners would be the telecoms operators. Skype doesn't supply any of the PSTN services, and for that it contracts with telecommunications partners. It has almost 100 partnerships for the PSTN termination for calls worldwide. We also have partnerships with Wi-Fi access providers. Skype client can detect the hotspots of these partners and connect the users to them, and effectively we operate as a distribution and payment platform for these partners. On the standalone revenue side, we have a freemium model, which is basically a subscription to our software, which is otherwise for free, and one of the key features being the group video calling. So one-to-one calling is for free, whereas if you want to see more people in your video, up to 10, it's subject to a small subscription fee. On the SME side, we learned soon that users were using Skype a lot in the business, and we decided to build some product features and tools that were relevant to the businesses, mainly to improve the payments, to add payment solutions, and to allow them to have some control of Skype business clients. Then there's been the advertising, click-to-call solutions sponsored by the advertising businesses, as well as advertising of third-party services in Skype client. One of the most long-standing partnership models we have are the hardware providers, where we've kicked off with the computers and computer accessories, starting with laptops, USB phones, and headset providers, and then moved on to mobile phones, game consoles, and lately the TVs. Internet-enabled TVs is a new trend, and we're really excited about that. Nowadays, there are TV sets out there where you can make Skype-to-Skype video calling to any other platform available. We have internet partnerships, most known of which probably being the Facebook, where we power the video calling among the Facebook users. We also have partnerships with Yandex in Russia and PC Home in Taiwan, big online presences in their respective markets. And last but not least, we have partnerships with mobile operators, where we worked integrating Skype to partner offerings in various ways. For Skype, the focus was to bring Skype experience to as many handsets as possible. And for the partners, they often used Skype as a tool for customer acquisition and a driver for data usage. And I'd like to look at one of those partnerships more closely. Namely, this is the 3 UK partnership, which was launched in 2007. Jointly, we developed a customized feature phone. It was called the 3 Skype phone. It came with a version of Skype integrated, delivered Skype features together with 3's offerings on 3's voice and data networks. 3's initial aim was to use Skype as a means of differentiation and customer acquisition tool. And as you can see from these figures, 79% of the Skype phone customers were new to 3. But however, this was a financially successful deal overall, in that Skype users turned out to be generally heavier users of all services. They generated 50% more minutes outside of Skype, resulting to increase in domestic voice revenue of 45%. They churned less and upgraded their plans more frequently, and overall led to a 20% improvement in margins. I would call this a win-win. It was a successful step to Skype in the non-smartphone market, highly profitable to 3, and it challenges the common perception that Skype mobile solutions cannibalize the voice revenue. So if we bring this back to the wider internet ecosystems, where players of the value chain operate interdependently, even without these deals, this cycle of innovation, demand, return on investment is nothing new. It operates as simply as more internet users upgrade to faster broadband and superfast broadband, the more there's a critical mass for content and apps providers to provide solutions for those users. The more there are solutions, the more there is demand for faster broadband, which then improves the business case and returns for the investors and for the network providers that roll out the respective networks. This is good for the internet, and it's good for the internet ecosystem. It's also important to the economy as a whole. As per McKinsey's study from 2011, internet contributed to the GDP growth, assessed 21% in mature countries for the 5 years up and until 2009. However, for the internet to deliver such results, its character as an open platform should be protected. And BEREC endorses this view in its report on differentiation practices that it released lately, and where it goes on to saying internet's growth and success is largely related to its specificities as an open platform. The key characteristics of that platform would be the universal connectivity, where every endpoint can reach every other endpoint, and the separation of network and application layers. This has led to a low cost of entry for distributing and accessing information online, as well as so-called innovation without permission, where anybody can innovate and put their app online and reach a global user base without restrictions. However, if internet access restrictions become the norm to the end users or over-the-top providers, the ecosystem no longer supports this innovation, and it no longer supports the internet business case, which means we get less new content and apps, and this cycle slows down. So it would be hard to talk about Skype without talking about these restrictions, especially in view of the recent report from BEREC, where they studied 32 markets and over 400 operators. BEREC's report finds that over 50% of mobile users are customers of mobile operators that apply some level of restriction to voice over IP. They drill this down to more details by saying 21% of users were defined as affected by VoIP restrictions, and another 18 were defined in a category that might or might not have been affected. Effectively, these are users of operators that said that they applied restrictions to their users, but didn't define the percentage. We have been made aware over the years of some of these restrictions. On the fixed networks, they've been fewer. There have been sporadic attempts to degrade or block Skype's traffic or access to Skype website. But in the mobile networks, the traffic shaping and blocking has been reported to be more common, especially in the EU. It occurs 3 ways. There's the technical blocking or service degradation. There's a contractual blocking in the form of end-user terms that prohibit peer-to-peer or voice over IP. sometimes connected to rights to terminate the contract in case of breaches. There's the economic blocking, which means users are charged extra for plans that allow them to access voice over IP or peer-to-peer, which leads to the situation where less affluent users who have basic data subscriptions don't have access to these cheaper competitive voice solutions. One coalition in the EU keeps a list of these Skype restrictions, and it's available on demand. You can also come and ask me later on. I'll be happy to send the list to you. This is concerning in the sense that Skype is not a must-have app. Most of these apps aren't must-have apps. And if they get restricted, people switch over to something else. And once apps are restricted, some of these new entrants cease their existence. It's particularly detrimental for the new ones that have no brand name. And this all leads to less user choice and reduced competition. So what do we want to say with all this? In the absence of time, I'm going to drill this to the net neutrality chapter. For Skype and for other alternative business models in the Internet, open Internet is our livelihood, and net neutrality should be protected. What does that mean? Well, that means ensure consumers can have access to the lawful content services and apps of their choice from all of the networks and devices. Prohibit discrimination, whether it be commercial, technical, or contractual, or whether it be the undue traffic management of third-party services, to the extent that it's anti-competitive or harms consumers. Allow reasonable traffic management for the purposes of network security and efficiency, to the extent that it doesn't lead to commercial discrimination. Allow network operators to innovate with service enhancements and managed services alongside the best efforts Internet, while protecting the development and investment in the best efforts Internet. And then finally, the transparency, which is to be the key word of today. Ensure transparency. Allow that users are able to compare different prices and offerings. Allow them to be able to switch between providers at the same time that you ensure that there is a choice of unrestricted offerings at a fair price in the market. Thank you.